The 2026 WNBA season hasn't even officially tipped off yet, but the temperature in the league has already reached a boiling point. If you thought the storylines were intense last year, you need to brace yourself, because what just happened at the Dallas Wings training camp changes absolutely everything. Paige Bueckers, the former #1 overall pick, the Rookie of the Year, the player who spent all of 2025 carrying a struggling franchise on her back, just walked up to a microphone and sent a chilling, undeniable warning directly to Indianapolis, and more specifically, directly to Caitlin Clark. We're talking about a player who usually lets her game do the talking. A player who usually smiles for the cameras and gives the standard, polite PR answers. But not this time. When asked about the highly anticipated May 9th showdown against the Indiana Fever, Paige didn't blink. Her demeanor shifted. She leaned into the mic and said, "I didn't forget how last year ended. We aren't here to be a stepping stone for anyone else's storyline this season. The narrative changes now. We are coming for everything they said we couldn't have, and we are going right through whoever is standing in front of us."
Let that sink in. That wasn't just a soundbite, that was a declaration of war. That was Paige Bueckers telling the entire league that the Dallas Wings are no longer the underdog punching bag, and she is no longer willing to play second fiddle in the Caitlin Clark media circus.
Stay with me through this entire video, because the puzzle pieces coming together in Dallas right now are genuinely terrifying for the rest of the WNBA. We are going to break down exactly why Paige is so incredibly confident, the massive secret weapon Dallas just drafted that has Caitlin Clark's camp sweating, and why the May 9th game is going to break every single viewership record in WNBA history. But before we get into the tactical breakdown that proves why Indiana should be panicking, I want to hear from you. Who do you think actually has the higher ceiling in the WNBA? Caitlin Clark or Paige Bueckers? Drop your answer in the comments right now, because the debate is about to get nuclear. To understand why Paige's warning is so chilling, you have to look at the contrast between these two superstars right at this exact moment in April 2026. Caitlin Clark is coming off an 8-month recovery period. She's actively talking to the media about managing her minutes and stepping off the ball to preserve her health for a 44-game grind. She's being cautious, she's being calculated. Paige Bueckers, on the other hand, is walking into her sophomore season looking like she spent the entire winter in a hyperbolic time chamber. The physical transformation is obvious, but it's the mental shift that has scouts buzzing. She is locked in, angry, and out for blood. And the Indiana Fever are sitting right at the top of her hit list. To truly grasp the weight of Paige's warning, we have to rewind the tape and look at the absolute massacre that took place on July 13th, 2025. It was the first true professional matchup between the two generational talents. The hype was astronomical. Over 2.1 million viewers tuned into ABC, making it the fourth most viewed WNBA game in the network's history. The stage was perfectly set for an epic back-and-forth duel between the 2024 and 2025 #1 overall picks. But instead of a duel, it was an execution. The Indiana Fever completely dismantled the Dallas Wings, walking away with a humiliating 102-83 victory. And the damage was done early. Indiana exploded for a historic 36-15 run in the second quarter. They dropped 64 points in the first half alone, the most any WNBA team had recorded in a half that entire season. Caitlin Clark, who was supposedly on a minutes restriction, played just 25 minutes. But in those 25 minutes, she completely orchestrated Dallas's demise. She dropped 14 points, dished out a season-high 13 assists, and grabbed 5 steals. She looked like a grandmaster playing chess against a team playing checkers, casually logging a double-double and sitting on the bench smiling for the entire fourth quarter. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers was trapped in a nightmare. Individually, she was brilliant. She scored 21 points on incredibly efficient 9 of 15 shooting. She hit her shots, she navigated the screens, she tried to put the entire Dallas franchise in her backpack. But basketball is a 5-on-5 game, and Paige was fighting a war by herself. Her star teammate Arike Ogunbowale was rushing back from an injury, went a catastrophic 0 for 10 from the field, and finished with just 2 points. Paige was constantly swarmed by Indiana defenders, resulting in 4 brutal turnovers. She had to watch as Caitlin hit spectacular no-look passes to Aaliyah Boston, while Dallas completely collapsed around her. That game didn't just hurt, it left a scar. It fed directly into the agonizing narrative that has haunted Paige since college. That no matter how good she is, Caitlin Clark always gets the upper hand when the lights are brightest. We all remember the 2021 NCAA tournament when UConn faced Iowa, and the countless debates over who the true face of women's basketball was. In 2025, Clark had the super team in Indiana, while Paige was left trying to bail water out of a sinking ship in Dallas, eventually finishing with a miserable 6-16 record during that stretch of the season. But winners don't just accept defeat, they obsess over it. Sources close to the Dallas organization reported that Paige watched the film of that 102-83 blowout obsessively during the off-season. She watched how Indiana's defense dared her teammates to shoot. She watched Caitlin resting on the bench while the Fever backups ran up the score. That humiliation was the fuel for her 2026 off-season. Paige didn't just get in the gym to work on her jump shot. She got in the gym to fundamentally break down and rebuild her entire approach to the professional game. And that's why her warning isn't empty trash talk. It's a promise born from the darkest moment of her rookie year. If you think Paige Bueckers is the exact same player she was in 2025, you are entirely mistaken. The player who stepped onto the court for the Dallas Wings training camp this week is a highly evolved, lethal version of the Rookie of the Year we saw last season. And it's not just about her individual game. It's about the massive, franchise-altering moves the Dallas Wings front office made over the winter to ensure their franchise player never has to fight alone again. First, let's talk about the system. Dallas brought in a completely revamped tactical philosophy under coach Jose Hernandez. In 2025, Paige was forced to play hero ball. She was initiating the offense, trying to create her own shot, and fighting through constant double teams. It was exhausting. But Hernandez has implemented a system designed specifically to unlock Paige off the ball. In a recent interview, Paige herself said, "The new system gives me the ability to move, change sides of the floor, get defensive rotation, and attack closeouts in space." Translated into plain English, Dallas is no longer making Paige bring the ball up the floor against a set defense. They are running her off double screens, letting her catch the ball on the run, and forcing defenses to scramble before she even takes her first dribble. She is going to be incredibly efficient and terrifyingly fast. But here is the real reason Paige's warning to Caitlin Clark has teeth. The 2026 WNBA Draft. In a move that absolutely shook the league, the Dallas Wings used their high lottery pick to draft none other than Azzi Fudd. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Dallas Wings have officially reunited one of the most devastating backcourt duos in the history of college basketball. Azzi Fudd isn't just a great shooter. She is a generational sniper. During their time at UConn, the chemistry between Paige and Azzi was borderline telepathic. They know exactly where the other is on the floor without even looking.
If Indiana tries to swarm Paige the way they did in 2025, Paige is going to kick the ball out to Azzi Fudd, who will mercilessly drain threes all night long. You can no longer double-team Paige Bueckers without giving up an open shot to one of the deadliest shooters on the planet. Add a healthy Arike Ogunbowale into that mix, and suddenly, the Dallas Wings don't just have a good offense, they have a three-headed monster that can outgun anybody in the league.
This is the context behind the chilling warning.
Paige isn't warning Caitlin that she's going to score 40 points on her. She's warning her that she finally has an army at her back. She has the system, she has the physical conditioning, and she has her best friend and ultimate running mate in Azzi Fudd. The Dallas Wings are no longer a rebuilding project, they are a fully armed and operational battle station, and their primary target is the Indiana Fever.
While Paige Bueckers is loading up her arsenal in Dallas, the situation in Indianapolis is far more complex than the media wants to admit. Yes, the Indiana Fever are the reigning titans. Yes, they just locked up Aaliyah Boston to a historic, record-breaking 4-year, $6.3 million contract. Yes, Kelsey Mitchell is back on a $1.4 million supermax. On paper, the Fever look like an impenetrable fortress. But if you look closely at the training camp footage and listen to the whispers coming out of the Indiana facility, there is a very real vulnerability forming around Caitlin Clark.
For the first time in her career, Caitlin is actively stepping away from the wheel. Coming off an grueling 8-month period where she dealt with isolating rehab and the physical toll of her explosive 2024 and 2025 campaigns, Clark has made a shocking decision. She admitted to reporters that her goal for 2026 is to manage her minutes drastically. The quote was telling. "I don't want this to be a story about sitting out stretches, but it's about being healthy when October arrives. To achieve this, Indiana is moving Caitlin off the ball. They are taking the WNBA's ultimate point guard, the player who broke the single-season assist record faster than anyone in history, and asking her to play more as a traditional shooting guard in the half-court. The Fever want to push the pace in transition, but in half-court sets, they want others initiating the offense to save Caitlin from taking a physical beating from opposing defenders." This is a massive gamble by head coach Stephanie White. When Caitlin has the ball in her hands, her gravity warps the entire floor. Opposing centers literally abandon the paint to hedge on her high pick and rolls, which is exactly why Aaliyah Boston shoots such a ridiculous percentage at the rim. If Caitlin isn't the one orchestrating the pick and roll, does the Indiana offense stall? Does it become predictable? This is exactly what Paige Bueckers and the Dallas coaching staff are banking on. If Caitlin is playing off the ball, Dallas can put a massive, physical defender like Natasha Howard or a high-motor guard right into her jersey, denying her the catch and forcing the rest of the Fever roster to beat them. Caitlin is undeniably brilliant, but she is entering this season with a layer of rust and a completely new offensive identity. She is trying to learn how to be a passenger on certain plays, while Paige Bueckers has spent the last 8 months learning how to drive the Dallas Wings like a Ferrari. The contrast is staggering. You have Paige operating at absolute peak physical aggression, hungry for revenge. And you have Caitlin trying to play the long game, pacing herself for the playoffs. But in the WNBA, if you pace yourself against a killer, you get destroyed. The question heading into May 9th isn't just whether Caitlin's ankle is 100%. The real question is whether Caitlin's killer instinct is fully activated. Because if she comes into this matchup trying to manage her minutes, Paige Bueckers is going to run right over her. Mark your calendars, set your alarms, and clear your schedules for May 9th, 2026. When the Dallas Wings and the Indiana Fever tip off, it isn't just going to be a basketball game. It is going to be a high-stakes tactical chess match between two coaching staffs that genuinely dislike losing to each other. Let's break down the exact matchups that will decide who walks away with the crown.
First, the perimeter war. How does Indiana stop the newly formed Dallas trio of Paige, Arike, and Azzi Fudd? In 2025, Indiana could cheat off Dallas's role players to trap Paige. That strategy is officially dead. If Kelsey Mitchell is tasked with chasing Azzi Fudd around off-ball screens, that's going to drain Mitchell's energy for the offensive end. If Lexi Hull is put on Paige, Paige is going to use her elite footwork and the new Hernandez motion offense to completely lose her in the wash. Stephanie White has openly stated that she wants the Fever to be a top 3 defensive team this year. Well, May 9th is their ultimate stress test. They will need elite, non-stop communication from their new enforcer, Myesha Hines-Allen, to make sure Dallas doesn't get open looks on the perimeter. On the other side of the floor, the matchup is equally fascinating. Dallas's interior defense was notoriously soft last year. They gave up points in the paint like it was a charity event. But this year, they know Indiana's entire scheme relies on the Caitlin to Boston connection. Expect Dallas to play a highly aggressive switching defense. When Caitlin gives up the ball, Dallas is going to face guard her. They want to force Aaliyah Boston to create her own shot against double teams in the post, rather than catching those easy, spoon-fed, no-look passes from Clark. But the biggest X factor in this game is pace. Indiana wants to run. With Monique Billings and Aaliyah Boston sprinting the floor, Caitlin loves to grab the rebound and throw 50-foot hit-ahead passes before the defense can even set up. Dallas has to stop the fast break. If the Wings can force Indiana to play in the half court, where Caitlin is experimenting with her new off-ball role, Dallas has a massive advantage. This game will be decided in the third quarter. That was when Indiana blew the doors off Dallas last year. Paige knows this. She remembers exactly how it felt to watch the game slip away in a matter of minutes. Expect Paige to demand the ball and take over aggressively if Indiana goes on a run. She will not let history repeat itself. The level of shot-making we are going to see in this game will be astronomical. We are talking about 2 players who can hit from 35 feet out, completely unbothered by a hand in their face. It's not just about winning, it's about making a statement. It's about psychological dominance for the rest of the 2026 season. The May 9th clash between the Indiana Fever and the Dallas Wings is carrying the kind of weight normally reserved for a playoff Game 5. The WNBA knows it, the networks know it, and the players absolutely know it. When these two met in 2025, they pulled in 2.1 million viewers. Industry analysts are already projecting that this 2026 matchup, fueled by Paige's chilling warning and the reunion of the Yukon duo, could easily shatter the 3 million viewer mark. It is the defining rivalry of this new era of women's basketball. So, what is the verdict? Can Paige Bueckers cash the massive check her mouth just wrote? Or will Caitlin Clark remind the entire world why she is the reigning queen of the WNBA, regardless of what position she plays? If you look at the raw data and the momentum, the Dallas Wings have the element of surprise. They are bringing a brand new offensive system, a lethal rookie in Azzi Fudd, and a franchise player playing with a massive chip on her shoulder. They are hungry, they are angry, and they have nothing to lose. Indiana, conversely, is carrying the unbearable weight of expectations. When you are the favorite, every single mistake is magnified. If Caitlin's new off-ball experiment looks clunky, or if the Fever struggle to communicate on defense, the media narrative is going to turn on them instantly. But betting against Caitlin Clark is historically a terrible financial decision. Even when she is managing her minutes, her court vision and gravitational pull make the players around her exponentially better. If Kelsey Mitchell gets hot and Aaliyah Boston controls the glass, Paige's warning might end up looking like premature arrogance. This is what makes the WNBA so incredibly addictive right now. We are witnessing two all-time greats in the primes of their athletic lives, backed by front offices that are actually building competent rosters around them. The days of one player carrying a franchise are over. We are entering the era of super teams, and May 9th is the opening battle of that war.
Now, I turn it over to you. I've laid out the facts, the stats, and the completely changed landscape of both these franchises. Do you think Paige Bueckers and Azzi Fudd have enough firepower to take down the Indiana Empire? Or is Caitlin Clark going to drop another 14 and 13 in 25 minutes and send Dallas packing? Let me know your exact score predictions down in the comments below. I read every single one of them.
If you loved this deep dive and want to stay ahead of every single WNBA storyline this season, smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you never miss a video. Check out the video on the screen for another breakdown, and I will see you on the next one.